The Ferrari 328 is an object of pure beauty and is the ultimate variant of the attainable two-seat V8-powered Ferrari of the 1980s. Not as commonplace as the 308, nor is it as polarizing as the Testarossa or Mondial, the 328 hits the sweet spot where Ferrari's legendary performance, amazing sounds, Pininfarina beauty, and modern comfort collide. The 328 have a long lineage, with a platform that started out with the 308 back in 1975 and continued with modifications that improved the look and performance all the way to the ultimate variation, the 1989 328 GTB. This is a period when the prancing horse dominated the world of exotic sports cars, and the 328 offers a driving experience that's immersive, invigorating, and intoxicating. The Ferrari 328s themselves are very desirable cars, but this one definitely stands out from others. As you can tell, it's black on black, which is definitely a big difference from your normal red tan 328s you see, and it's also a GTB. Now, Ferrari made a bunch more of the GTS than the GTB, so for the entire 328 run, to put it into perspective, they made 2,053 US model GTSs, while they only made 123 US model GTBs. So that's a 16.7 to 1 ratio GTB versus GTS, which is pretty crazy in itself. Now, this is a 1989 model, so the last of the 328 run. And as in 1989, they only made 33 GTBs that whole year for the US market. Of the 33 they made, they only made 2 in black, and of the 2, 1 is black tan, and this one is black black, making it extremely rare because it's the only 1989 328 GTB in black on black. But to top it off, to make it even a little more special, this car only has just over 9,000 miles. Now, if the low miles and the rare color combination wasn't enough to set this car apart from others, there's a whole bunch of little details on this car that make it just fantastic. It's a great preservation award winner. It's, would definitely win Cavallino, Italiano, Ferrari Nationals. I mean, it just has everything that you can't find nowadays. So for instance, if we start in the front, down here, these fog lights on these cars were originally glass. And a lot of times they crack or break, but the ones on here are the original glass and they're not cracked at all, which is very hard to find. And then when you go to the wheels, these center caps are the original ones. So all the replacement ones are a slightly deeper color, a little darker yellow, which is not original. So having the light yellow center caps, original center caps, makes a difference, especially when you're going for a platinum level car. And then also this car has original paint that is in excellent condition. It was recently detailed, and they did such a good job because it's perfectly buffed. There's no micro scratches or anything like that, but it wasn't over buffed to the point where you risk wearing down the original paint. So it's just presents incredibly. And then on the 1988 and a half and 1989 cars, they had this little Cavallino badge on the mirrors, which, most of the ones in that era have these, but it's just, you can look at the car and know it's a later model 328 because of these little badges right here, which is pretty cool. So throughout the years, a lot of little decals and stuff end up getting ripped off and going missing. And the nice thing about this car and how well preserved it is and low mileage, it still has all those little decals. So for instance, in the front under the hood on the brake fluid reservoir, it still has the original factory decal there, along with the spare tire, the correct type, or the original one and the correct one, which for some reason you'd think that it'd be hard to misplace a big spare tire, but they end up going missing on a lot of the car, or many of the cars, so it's always nice to have. And then when we come to the back of the car here, as far as the factory original stuff that tends to just disappear over the years. So one of the really cool things, it not only has all the books, the tools, the jack kit, the little trouble light, which is quite fun in itself. So these little trouble lights right here, it's like a little emergency light with a magnet on the back in case you need light for your car and it's dark. But it also has the little decals on the tools. So on the tool, you'll never really find these. Occasionally, but very rarely, it has the factory decals on the tool roll and the jack roll, which always gets torn off throughout the years. So that's definitely something very special to have. And then a couple other things that set this car apart, the hood struts, which usually get replaced throughout the years because they wear out. They are the original ones with the original Ferrari factory stampings on them, but they've been refurbished to where they hold up well and they work just like they should. And then in the engine bay itself, which is really neat and pristine looking, it has all the original little stuff, like the gold plating on the fuel injection is in excellent condition. The spark plug wires have a little plastic holder that keeps them all in line and in place, and that always breaks. All these little details. One of the big things, which seems very silly, but the air duct, the actual hose, is the original and correct type, which when you're looking for a platinum winning car, that little thing, which seems so meaningless, is so important because they deteriorate throughout the years and are just replaced with a cheap version. So if you want to find the correct air duct hose for a 328 like this, it can run you $5,000, which is insane, but that's how much people want the correct type to get that extra 99 point plus win at a show like Cavallino or Italiano. So along with all the little details that I've explained, like every Ferrari owner would want to know, has the car been recently serviced? What's the service history? Which, no matter whether you're talking about a car like this one in pristine condition or a nice driver or whatever car you might be interested in buying, you want to know when the last service was, what was done. So this car just came to us from the shop after completing a major service. And I'm talking everything that needed to be done was taken care of in that service. So it was your normal stuff you'd want in a 328, the timing belts, you know, fluids, all of that. We put new tires on it, so they're brand new tires. And they did a compression and leak down test for us. And the compression across the board was between 171 and 178 PSI, and the leak down was 1% on all but one cylinder, which was 2%. So it really doesn't get much better than that as far as the engine compression and leak down test goes. 328s in general are very comfortable cars to drive, and unlike some other Ferraris, they are actually well suited for taller people. So me, I'm 5'7". It doesn't really matter much to me. I'm always pulling the seat forward. But in 328s, there's lots of leg room, and it just makes it, you know, easier for most people who are taller than me. And then another nice thing about the 328s is because they don't have the power steering, you feel very engaged when you're driving. The clutch on this car is nice and light, and it shifts so smooth. So this particular example, when you're driving it, it's comfortable and it does what you want it to, and you feel so engaged with the no power steering, the gated shift. All of that just makes it a very fun driving experience, and you feel like you're going a lot faster than you are. If you've watched some of my other videos, you know that although the 328s aren't as fast as modern supercars, you feel like you're going fast. You feel very in tune with the car when you're driving it, and you can go comparably. So if you take a modern supercar, you can go past the rational speed limit very quickly without even thinking about it, and get in trouble very quickly. Whereas a car like this, while it still does go fast, it's not
it takes a little more engagement from the driver to do so, and that's what makes it fun. You can go fast without getting yourself in a lot of trouble and still have just as much, if not more fun. In my opinion, it's more fun in these older cars. So on the interior of this particular 328, there's the 328s had heater valve issues, and finding a heater valve replacement for this car was quite a nuisance. It takes a long time. They're not cheap, but we found it and everything works. A lot of times the 328s have a nice simplistic kind of layout to the dash, which I really enjoy. It's very tuned into the driver. Everything's kind of right here and really simplistic and timeless. But a lot of times the switches will go out and the little lights won't work. But on this car, everything works. All the little lights on here and on the dash and under the doors, everything is working, which is really hard to find, because if you think about it, I mean, this car it's older than me, so having one where everything works is very hard to find.
328s in general are considered some of the more reliable Ferraris. They don't have a lot of the electronic wizardry going on like other models, and the ECUs in these cars are fairly bulletproof in Ferrari standards. The 88.5 and 89 328s are set apart from the rest, and they're the most desirable because of their ABS brakes. So the way to visually tell an 88.5 or 89 apart from the rest of the 328s, one of the big ones is the little prancing horse right here on the side mirror, and then the other way is the wheels. So on the ABS, the anti-lock braking system cars, they also had some suspension updates, so they have convex wheels. So you can look at those two things and know that it's that year in this model, which is kind of fun to know if you're walking around a car show and you see that and you can go, I know what year that is, you know, just the fun little facts. Also on 328s, the service cost is highly reduced because it could be an engine in service. So other cars in this era, like the Testarossa, for instance, one of the reasons the Testarossa has kind of remained on the more affordable side is because their service costs are so unaffordable to a lot of people. You have to basically drop the whole rear end out of the car to service it, and it quickly climbs above $10,000 to service a Testarossa. Whereas on a 328, because the engine stays in the car and you only have to do it every 5 years or so, depending, then you're talking a couple grand instead of 10,000 plus. I love the timeless look on the interior of this car. I love how when the door is shut, the dash blends nicely into the door right here. The door handle is hid nicely right here. They did a couple odd things. So the window buttons are behind the little door grab right here, which when you're looking for them, it gets a little confusing. But it wouldn't be a Ferrari if it didn't have its own unique little quirks, right? So one of the ones that just really made me laugh on this car is right here. So this is actually a little coat hanger. You can take your blazer off and hang it there. And I mean, not really, because I don't see how that would work, but they added it. So you do have a little coat hanger right here, and there's one on the passenger side as well. It is absolutely not functional because you couldn't see anything out of the window, but it's there. They added it, and it gave me a really good giggle when I saw it. Because this car has that black on black color combination, it really makes the orange in the gauges and the yellow on the horn buttons stand out. And it's nothing different than other 328s color-wise, but because of the black on black, they just pop so much more in this car, and I love the look of it. But as far as different quirks in Ferraris, so a lot of time the e-brake was on the center console, and they moved it over to the side right here. And it's funny because you'd think when you engage it and pull it up, now it's in your way. But what they've done is you can just push it back down so it's out of your way to get in and out. And then to disengage it, you pull it up,
press the button and push it down, and now it's disengaged. So it's not gonna ever really be in your way, which is kind of a cool feature. As if I haven't mentioned enough kind of special and unique features about this car: low miles, special colors, preservation, award candidate. Just to make it a little bit better, this car has had 3 owners in its life, and the second owner was Chad Mcqueen, Steve Mcqueen's son. So I have this little book right here, and in this book, you will actually find a photo of Chad Mcqueen with this car right here. And there's a couple other articles you can find online showing that he owned a black on black 1989 328 GTB, and in like the Palm Springs area, which is where the last owner of this car was after Chad Mcqueen. So it doesn't really get much better. You get a car with low miles, amazing history. I mean, just all the little things that add up on this car, and this is just kind of like the icing on the cake, I think. As you can probably tell, the 328 is definitely a personal favorite of mine, and it's for a lot of reasons that I've gone over, but I mean, they're just really rock solid cars if they're maintained properly. So to go through the lineage a bit, this whole line started with the 308s in 1975, and the first cars were carbureted, and then because of the EPA laws in the US, they changed to the injected system, which those cars, while beautiful, are slow. So they eventually went to the 308 QV, which is the quattro valve. And they carried that on to this car as well. So the 328s are all quattro valve engines. So the big difference is the 308 is a 3.0 liter 8-cylinder, as the name tells you, and then this one is a 3.2 liter. So you get a bump in power from the 328, and they're just overall wonderful cars. It's funny because they have that sports car look to them, but they really drive like a GT car. So I would have no problem driving a well-maintained and well-serviced 328 across country without having the same worries I would about certain other Ferrari models. And the 308s and 328s are really well known for the car that brought the prancing horse to the masses, and you'll be hard to find a more rare and desirable example than this one here. So I'm really happy I've had a chance to show it to you guys and go over all the little points that just make this car so special. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe and stay tuned because we have a lot more content coming very soon.